everyone, this is Persephone, and today I have to thank my haters for the inspiration behind this video. Because my haters have 300 IQ each, so that's why they are capable of asking the same accidental 10 questions over and over and over. So today I'm going to explain to you why I decided that I would much rather die in a ditch than go back to the civilian workplace ever again. And it's going to be a wild ride, buckle up. Trigger warning, some people will not like the things that I'm saying, but you can always watch someone else. No further intro. So ever since I grew up, I was this type of person that I had the massive problem that I saw things very differently than other people around me. And when I say growing up, I don't mean when I was 16, I mean when I was 7 or 8. I'm going to explain to you what I mean using a Korean drama. There is a Korean drama that I watched quite some time ago. I recommend it if you like this kind of thing like Hot Asian Man and Supernatural, called Goblin, where the main female lead on Goblin was able to see ghosts. And no one else around here saw the ghost, so every time this girl tried to communicate that she's seeing the ghost, she was bullied, she was harassed, she was ostracized, so eventually she had to shut the fuck up and pretend that she's like everybody else to survive. But she continued to see the ghost. In a similar way, when I was at school, I was so sure that this whole thing is a bullshit. That we don't learn really like anything, that this is extremely oppressive, this horrible routine where every second of your day was pre-calculated, and that this is not going to lead anywhere that is good for you, that this is not happening for my own sake, that people would say always get an education, always go to school, always this and that. The reason that this happened specifically for me is that my narcissistic mother always made sure that she's going to find the worst, most ghetto, most abusive, most fourth world shithole of a school she could find in the area to send me there to make sure that I was bullied for autism as much as possible. And I say that looking back as an adult, that her choices were like, oh my god, you cannot imagine. So I remember trying to communicate that to other kids first and then to my parents, and getting the same horrified look that the girl who saw ghosts was getting in the drama. That how can you even think of this, the unthinkable, like the taboo that your life is bad. They would tell me, you're just a kid, that's what kids do, like shut the fuck up and endure it and don't ask too many questions. To give you a better image, your day started at ungodly hours like 4 or 5 a.m. and you had to get ready, you had to revise all of the stuff you needed to do at school before you go to school, because my mother wanted to make sure that I have to get 100% on every subject. If you get 99%, you're called trash and an abomination who shames the family. Then you had to spend time at the school, then you had to come home from the school, basically eat something if there is time, and then you had to go to the other school. Because I spent a very big part of my childhood going to 2 schools, and the second school was one of the schools that people only speak English and you have to learn English, and it has like British teachers and so on. And that was probably the only useful school that I've been to in my life, because at least I learned English. But the rest of the time you had to do your homework, eat some more food, work out if there is in the program for that day, then sleep, then repeat. And I was thinking, this is a never-ending nightmare. I remember ever since I was 8 or 9 years old that I was living in extreme survival mode. I can honestly say up to now that I don't really have one positive memory from my entire school life. The best thing I can tell you about school is that it ended. Thank God it ended. That's all I have to say. When I was in high school, and now you're going to say, what is this bitching video? I'm going to get somewhere, like bear with me. When I was in high school, I started to really have very severe mental problems. You can watch the video, my mother tried to kill me, if you're interested in the dirty laundry. And people kept telling me that when you go to college, things are going to be so much better. Just grind it now, just get accepted into college, and your life is going to be like a party. And to make a long and boring story short, college was not a party, it was even more horror than high school. Because if you go to college and you actually want to pass classes, there is no partying. Especially for the subjects that I was studying, there is no partying. It's like it's hell on earth, and the people there are even crazier. I was working jobs while going to college because I didn't want to be dependent on my parents, and I worked around 24 jobs, and whatever abuse was happening in college, Magnify that by 100 times at the jobs, like internships. Internships are the most refined form of modern slavery you can imagine. It's the best way to be underpaid or not paid at all, constantly sexually harassed, have no time for yourself. I think I've made videos about the times where I had to buy clothes because I didn't have time to wash them, and I had to buy food because I didn't have time to go home. We're talking about extreme conditions, and there was practically no money coming out of it, because when you live in a way that your life is constantly spiraling out of control, you're spending a lot of money on crap that you shouldn't have been spending normally. For example, I needed 20 medications to get through the day because all of my autoimmune problems flared up immensely. Where am I getting with all of this? At some point, I had to realize that I have to go wrong. Like, this is a war where no one is going to support me, and if I want to survive, like not die from overworking and being abused constantly, I have to find some other way to make money. And now you're going to say, oh wow, you're just a scam supporting the porn industry. That's also one kind man who is hiding behind the cartoon character, and he messaged me that the other day. So no, I do not support it in a way of I'm trying to like pretend everything is great there or trying to encourage other people to join OnlyFans. Nothing like that. But I had to educate myself about finances and share what I learned with you. And the first rule is that there are two kinds of scams financially in this world, two main kinds that a lot of people fall into. The get rich quick scam and the get rich slow scam. So we're going to not really overanalyze the get rich quick scam because it's the fastest way to land yourself in the federal prison, and a lot of people already know about it. Like, you cannot get rich by hoping to win the lottery or hoping to just marry someone extremely wealthy who is 98 years old, or I don't know, MLM multi-level marketing scams. I'm not going to analyze this because more or less everyone has heard about them. But the get rich slow scam is much more like creepy and sneaky, and probably everyone around you is into it if your life sucks, because everyone around me was into it and they still are. So the main idea of this scam is that you're going to go to school, then go to college, then work a job. You're going to have normally massive student debt, or if you are in a country that you don't need loans, like some European countries, you're still going to be broke as a joke. If you're not broke, you're still going to have to work a bunch of internships and underpaid horrible jobs, because a lot of these normal jobs ask for insane work experience, like minimum 5 years of work experience and minimum 6 years of work experience. But the problem is that when you graduate from college, you don't have any work experience. So how are you going to get it if you can get a normal job by getting internships or by getting entry-level jobs that are going to leave you poor? Then there is, of course, this insane pressure to get married or have kids. And eventually, especially if you are a guy, I'm going to talk more about guys because I saw that my main audience is male. What happens is that you wake up one day, you are in your mid to late 30s or 40s or 50s. You are married to some woman that she acts like she tolerates you. Usually she has let herself go and she has become like completely out of shape or obese. You have 1 or 2 kids who hate you. You are up to your eyeballs in debt, and you're living way above your means because that's what everybody is telling you to do, that you need a car, that you need an apartment, that you need bills, that you need this and that for your kids. And then they're going to tell you, just work more, just be more productive. If you're poor, it's because you didn't work hard enough, or you're going to chase the next promotion, you're going to chase the next job, and don't worry, when you're in your 60s, you are going to retire and live like a king and enjoy the fruits of your labor. Last month actually, 2 of my male relatives died, supposedly from COVID, but they had become so decrepit after living this exact same life that I described that they didn't get to enjoy anything. So the game is very severely rigged. There is a pretty high chance you are part of the rat race because the poor need to continue dying. For the system to keep going, we need the poor to continue dying, because if you don't die, they have to pay you pensions. Or this thing that I say constantly, that who is going to take care of the aging population all over the world, the people who support that we need to have kids like mindlessly, and they complain about that. First of all, the way I see it, you're not supposed to be 60 and decrepit. 60 isn't even that old. And if you got to the point that you need carers, and there aren't enough carers, automation is what needs to happen. Because creating a generation of people who have to be caretakers for old people just because they're strapped for cash, that's not a solution. You know what I mean? There are so many other solutions. But I'm not going to even go there. I'm going to tell you that if you have to constantly exchange your time for money, and the money aren't even enough for you to save anything or to pay any debt, then you're part of the rat race. And I was also part of the rat race, because people are going to say, now, I already see the hate in the comments. They're going to say, yeah, white privilege, who are you to talk about? You have your family to fall back into, who are you to talk about? I had actually no one to fall back into, and I still don't. In the sense of, my family hated my ideas so much, they almost tried to kill me with meditations to make me quote unquote normal. There are many people that they are so weak, they are such cowards, that they don't dare to see how rigged the rat race game is. That you will never get rich working a job. You will never get rich doing what you're told. It's okay to obey the law because we don't want to get in prison, but you don't have to obey the other rules. That if I can make $200 in a week, or if I can make $200 in 10 minutes, why shouldn't I take the 10 minutes because of some invisible old man in the sky who is going to tell me that I'm going to go to some hell that there is no proof of? I'm not going to make it into an atheist versus theist discussion here. I'm just going to tell you that, in my opinion, people should be allowed to make their own choices after they are 18. So in my case, I decided that I have had enough. There was a time when my health problems were so severe that I was in the hospital, in the ER, and no one showed me any sympathy. Even my husband at the time, who was a psychiatrist, he told me I just need more Xanax and more medication to control my stress and my depression that was a result of the Western way of life. Western way of life, my food. I didn't even have basic human needs met. I couldn't eat when I needed, I couldn't sleep when I needed, I was constantly sexually harassed and sexually abused. I had people sabotaging me at work, and looking back, these people were also trying to survive as much as I was. I don't have any hate towards them. So if there is any other way to not live this way, I was willing to try it. If that meant living on a tent in the woods and eating like roots and ramen, fine by me. I was thinking that I'm going to be 60 and I'm not going to have experienced anything. I'm just going to be a drone in a machine. So what the school does is they keep you poor, stupid, and in a fake state of emergency. Same with college, same with your marriage, same with everything. Busy doesn't equal productive. I was busy 16 hours per day and I wasn't getting anywhere. So the next question is, after this video becomes more and more depressive and horrible, how do you get out of the rat race? You have to generate enough passive income so that even if you lose your job, the money from the passive income are enough to have at least your basic needs met. That, the way you generate passive income is up to you. I'm not going to tell you which way suits your life and your skills. And I'm not going to sell you the whole how to make money online trope, because a lot of these things don't work. I've tried them. But I'm going to tell you that even if you want your job or even if you like your job, you still need other sources of income to protect you in a case of an emergency. Most people now live honestly hand to mouth, paycheck to paycheck. There is no end in sight, and it's amazing how the brainwashing is so strong that if you tell people, I don't want to have children because I cannot afford them, they shame you for it. Or they say crap like God will provide. I'm not into magical thinking. I don't know about you, but I'm not going to bring a being into this world financially unprepared and then resorting to hoping for a miracle. Someone else told me I'm worthless because I told them I'm child-free. That's fine by me. You and your cartoon character that you have on your face can have your own opinion. We have freedom of opinions online, at least to some degree. So my point is that for the amount of money I needed at the time, if you Google how you can make $10,000 in a month, you're not going to find many legal choices. Like, the choices are going to be something like gun selling, meth making, human trafficking. But when it comes to OnlyFans and all of that stuff, Do you know what's the catch? They're 100% legal. I pay taxes in 2 countries, and I also pay taxes in America for YouTube, although I'm not American. Did you know that? Did you know that all YouTubers all over the world, we have to pay taxes to the IRS, and we are registered to the IRS? It's really amazing. You can look it up if you don't believe me. So if something is 100% legal and it can allow me to not be a corporate slave, I'm willing to take my chances. If you don't like it, then you can go back to your job, or you can be a welfare queen, because a lot of these men who are shaming me are actually welfare queens. I can tell from their YouTube channels that they don't have anything going for themselves. I'm aware that everyone has to live with their choices. The idea that, oh my God, this content is going to be forever out there to shame you or something like that. Okay, you know, do you ever think, does it ever cross your mind that there was a time where I was surviving hour after hour? I had read a book about Marines, how Marines survive the Devil Week. And they said you have to focus on surviving the next hour. And this advice got me going, because I had slept 4 hours in the last 48 hours. I had eaten 1 meal and the job was still not finished. And my only other alternative was to call my parents, that they would tell me, you know, you can come back here, you can live with us, until my mother attempts to poison me again, but that's a different story. And you're supposed to date some guy, marry him, have a couple of kids, and then wait to die. And I felt that life should be more than that, because I saw all of these people married to the same person for the 10, 20, 30 year marriages, and they weren't happy. They're cheating. Most of their wives are those drinking moms, the memes with the drinking moms who are alcoholic. They were both out of shape. They didn't look like people who enjoyed their lives. And at that point, I had lost faith in religion, my parents, and the whole system so much. So I started doing my own research. And I don't say this because I feel the need to just explain myself or defend myself, because there are some people who mean well and they say, you know, why do you need to respond to hate? Because when people ask something every day, I think it's good to eventually respond. Maybe someone can learn from what happened to me. So you're going to tell me, are you happier now? The next question. I'm not always happier. There have been many extremely hard times and many dangerous times that I was stalked, that I was harassed, that I had people contacting my family, finding the landline and harassing them. I had people who found my ex-husband and they sent him nudes from OnlyFans. There were many very stressful times. But overall, the fact that I can sit down and write my books, something that would never have been possible in the past, or that I can sit down and sleep when I need to, or cook a healthy meal and eat it, these things are luxuries that I didn't have before. And if I continued down that path, I was never going to have them. So for me, it's worth it. It's a deeply personal decision, I think. If you don't feel that it's worth it for you, then I respect that. And if my lifestyle and my financial ideas trigger you so much, I also respect it. There is nothing wrong essentially with having a job if it doesn't eat you alive. I don't believe on subreddits like r-anti-work in a sense, because those are not bad jobs in my opinion. Those are just bad people controlling these jobs. But in all of the workplaces that I've worked, 24 normie civilian jobs, there was always some narcissist. Either some toxic white female woman in her 50s, for some reason the white ones were always the nastiest, and I say this being white so I can say it. Or there was some old creep that there was a rampant sexual harassment. Because there are many people who say, oh, people who do OnlyFans or people who do many feats are sexually harassed. You're right, we are sexually harassed on a daily basis. But in my past life, I was also sexually harassed on a daily basis. And if you say just report it, good luck with that. I support people who report it. Every time I personally try to report it in my workplaces, I ended up either fired or slandered or abused, or simply nothing changed. So after some point, I realized that if something is not working, you just cut it off and you continue your life as a free person. As free as you can be, at least. So I don't know if this helped. I'm just telling you that if you are a beta man and you want to be a beta provider, or if you want to free yourself from abuse, or if you want to transition and live as a woman, for all of that you're going to need money, no matter what your goal is. And I don't suggest depending on a job that can be taken away in a second. And then, what happens then? Do you have enough money to move fast from the place you live if there is an emergency, or a stalker or a natural disaster or a war? Do you have money to cover this month's rent, next month's rent? Do you have money to invest in anything? If there is an accidental pregnancy, or if there is a sudden illness, or if there is any other problem, can you at least buy yourself some time to figure out what you're going to do? If the answer is no, I'm living hand to mouth, or if the answer is no, I'm running my mouth, hiding behind a cartoon character and watching you, then I'm really sorry. You're going to have very tough times ahead. And I'm making this video not to present myself as some kind of financial guru, not at all. I'm just doing it as the catalyst that is going to hopefully encourage you to research these things like I do and stop being financially illiterate, because we spend so many thousands of hours in this stupid school. Has your school ever taught you anything about credit cards, how to use them? Because you can actually use debt to invest, or you can actually get out of debt if you want to, or you can actually study something that is not going to get you into debt. In my school, the things that people taught us were completely useless. I haven't used like a single one of them in my entire life. And that is not random. That is on purpose, because the purpose for these ghetto horrible ass schools was to make people that they're going to be strapped for cash, like I mentioned, they're going to go to a job. And my favorite phrase that I heard all of my life in all of these jobs, this is just how it is. People used to say to me with a smile of the zombie, this is just how it is, or confused, when I asked them one day, are we going to die here? Like a fellow intern. I asked him, like, what's the plan? Because we work here 16 hours a day and we're underpaid, and what's in our future that we're going to move up the scale and eventually move from an entry-level job to a more permanent job, like with a contract, and we're going to be here again 16 hours per day, but with a lot more responsibility and no time. And he looked at me like I told him there is a ghost behind you. He told me, well, this is just how it is. Like, what else is out there? And I realized, okay, I have to get out of here. Like, this is not normal. The fact that you are looking at 50 plus years of slavery ahead of you, and you have just come into complete acceptance at like 20 years old, no,